There are three forms of suffering, right? This is why people wake up. In chapter 7 of this book, he says there are three forms of suffering due to which an idea arises in Purusha that it is bound, right? Purusha isn't bound. Purusha is not involved with this shit at all. But because he's looking at Prakriti, he begins to think that he is her. And she mimics Purusha. She begins to conform to the patterns of Purusha. She starts to form herself and change herself. Nature is a series of expression of patterns. What we're looking at here is the expression of mathematics. We're not actually looking at the thing. We're looking at a representation, a copy of an imitation. But the problem is, highest self, soul, is identified with this whole game, is identified with this dance, with this manifestation, which doesn't exist as itself. It doesn't exist. It only exists because he thinks it does. And even worse, he thinks that it is him. So check it out. He says, in the Swami Niranjanananda Saraswati says, there are three forms of suffering due to which an idea arises in Purusha that it is bound. Whenever the three gunas are active, there is disharmony. And dealing with disharmony causes struggle. Check this out. This conflict and suffering has been divided into three categories of adhibhautika, adhyatmika, and adhidaivika. And this is what that means. The first kind of pain stems from material causes. The second kind stems from personal causes, inner causes. And the third comes from cosmic or divine influences. So there's three types of suffering and conflict here. You got suffering and conflict that comes from material causes, the physical world, right? You got a type of suffering that comes from inner causes, your thoughts and your mind, right? So you got suffering from the outside realm, suffering from the inside, and then you've got cosmic suffering, right? So check it out. When Purusha, being the conscious nature, identifies with the three classifications of suffering, it appears bound. Prakriti is the cause of all sufferings. This is why people blame Eve in the Garden of Eden. It's symbolic and metaphoric, like all deep spiritual teachings. It's not literal, people. So it's not that woman is the cause of we got kicked out. No, Eve represented matter. Eve represented Prakriti. Adam represented Purusha. So Prakriti is the cause of all suffering because matter and manifestation and attachment to manifestation is what causes suffering. So again, Prakriti is the cause of all suffering, but does not identify with them because Prakriti does not have consciousness, right? We interact with the pains and the pleasures of the world according to inherited or innate predispositions or bhavas, and end up either further entangled in karma or detached from it. So you either get entangled up in karma or detached from karma.